Speaking of Wisers, we're hitting some Wisers tonight, aren't we, boys?
Nice. I like the way you're starting tonight, Dave.
Hey everybody, welcome to Another Proof. My name's Ian. I'm here with Daryl and Dave, and we're going to be checking out some JP Wisers today.
I'm Dave, as you know. Let's do this, Wisers. Let's do this!
I'm Daryl. I'm looking forward to doing a custom blend legacy and comparing it to the real legacy. Hit us up on YouTube and on the Podsphere, Spotify, Apple, and Google under Northern Proof. Let's get into this one, guys.
Awesome. So you're saying a custom blend? Whose custom blend is this?
This blend has been floating around the internet for 3 or 4, maybe more years. Dr. Don Livermore, master blender from JP Wisers. I think he first told maybe Trenny and C about it. I'm not so sure, but that's the first time I saw it, and it was in one of their episodes. I'm pretty sure it was 3 or 4 years ago. So what the blend is what you were chugging there a few minutes ago.
Oh, all right.
It's 2/3 JP Wisers 15 and 1/3 Lot 40.
Oh, interesting. Ooh. So
Dave,
this is like a Wisers legacy hack. This is a whiskey hack we're getting into. My son has been playing a lot of video games, and he watches all the Fortnite YouTube videos about hacking and this and that. And, oh, this kid's such a hacker. And now we're getting into whiskey hacks.
Whiskey hacks. Yep.
See, this is something my son would watch now. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, he probably shouldn't, though.
We'll keep it PG.
So this, Dave, the blend that you have is my sample that I made, and I may have put a little bit more Lot 40 in than I was supposed to, but that was intentional. I prefer a bit more rye forward. We tried this earlier. Daryl and I were texting back and forth, and we were trying it out and seeing how it played out, and it was good, but then we'll see how it compares to the true legacy, because we have that bottle here as well. So
I'm excited, because I mean, if you take 2 bottles and you make 1 bottle out of it, you got more volume now, so that's a bigger volume of legacy by combining the 2 bottles.
Is it more or the same amount?
We'll just keep pouring over and over and over and over.
You have to buy 3 bottles to make 3 bottles.
I'm not a mathematician, okay? I'm a whiskey drinker now. Yeah. Not that whiskey drinkers can't be good at math too. I don't know if I just offended people there.
Yeah. Most likely. Probably didn't offend as much as when I recommended the Whiskey Philosophy podcast to blend Sazerac rye and Buffalo.
Oh no.
Trace. I'm pretty sure Josh is still holding that against me.
Is that a blend you had done before, or you just
Absolutely
threw it out to them to try?
Just threw it out to him as a joke, because they said, which one should we do tonight for our podcast? And I said, put them together. And, it's been amazing. A good 2-3 months that they've been hating on me for that.
You're never gonna live it down.
I'm not gonna live it down, and I'm fine with that.
This is a nice blend so far on the nose. Like that Lot 40 is coming through pretty strong. The rye notes on it. It smells like a Lot 40 to me, especially after I just chugged the 15.
I think it's more 60-40 than whatever the other one is. 6
2/3, 1/3.
So that's what, 66-33.
There you go.
Yeah. So this
math on the fly.
Closer to 60-40, maybe a little little higher in the rye content.
Okay.
But
I have heard people going as far as 50-50. I haven't tried that myself yet, but I would think the rye would really overpower.
I might just go 100% rye, personally.
So is this something that you guys do often, blend different whiskeys that you have in your cabinet?
I don't, because I suck at it. There's a few people that I follow, though. Timmergund on Instagram is all about, he's from Southern California. He's all about blending and he gets these fancy Four Roses bottles and blends them all together and tries them, and the art of it. He loves the science behind it all. Anytime I do it, I'd rather drink the original product.
Right.
So I've kind of leaned away from it right now, but I think Daryl's been getting into it a little bit lately.
Yeah, I've played with a few Woodford Reserve rye, blended with, what did I blend that with? I think it was with Buffalo Trace. Turned out pretty well. But yeah, I don't really jump into it unless I've read somewhere, or Whiskey Blending 101 on Instagram. They do a lot of great blends. I think they really know what they're doing. So if you want to try, see what you can do. But yeah, you got to know what's going to blend well, or you're going to end up in the situation I did.
And you should really remember which glass is which. When you're pouring samples.
Fake it till you make it, baby.
Well, I can pour more, but
now it's a good test for you to see if you can pick the one out.
Yeah, I think so. The last time I tried this, I did the original blend, 2/3, 1/3, and I could really tell the difference between the actual legacy. But with the higher rye, I'm curious to see how it comes across. And I think, Daryl, you had another pro tip, maybe.
Yeah, so anybody who has their hands on the red letter from JP Wiser's, if you blend that instead of the Wiser's 15, I've heard that is the exact blend to make a legacy.
Ooh, so lot 40 and red labeled, what'd you call it? Red label?
Red letter.
Red letter.
The red letter.
So blend red letter. Oh, wow. That's a different bottle.
Fancy one.
That's a limited release. It's not available. I don't know how often they release it. It seems to be what would you say, Ian, every 5 to 7 years, maybe.
Yeah.
I think the last time was 2014 this came out. This one was only released from the distillery. And the one before, I think, was released very limited to some of the liquor stores around Canada.
Nice.
So it's not a blend that goes around very often because there's very limited quantities of these bottles floating around, and red letter is amazing on its own and very unique. And since it is a limited bottling, you don't really want to mix it with something else.
I'm leaving mine. Yeah. I'm leaving mine as is.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into this from the fact that we know Daryl here, Whiskey Sith on Instagram, is a big Star Wars fanboy. He loves the Star Wars world. You've got your Whiskey Sith hat, you got your DeLorean shirt, Yoda in the background. But I'd have to say you're also a pretty big Wiser's fanboy.
Yeah.
Because when we did it was the Wiser's 15 with a group of buddies, Daryl in the background had all the bottles lined up. You got a great Wiser's collection, don't you?
I do. I like what's coming out of Wiser's. They're all very unique, but they're a great Canadian whiskey. The 15, the 18, the 22 that just launched here this week, the 23 and the 35. And then there's a whole plethora of other releases in different provinces and in Ontario. I don't have many of those ones, but I think they're great Canadian whiskeys. It shows what, again, we can produce in this country. Canadians seem to be very stingy when it comes to our good whiskeys. We don't like to ship them out to other countries. That's starting to change now. We're starting to send a lot of good stuff down into the States. So hopefully that will change the world's opinion of what Canadian whiskey is.
This legacy here, I must say, I've sipped on both now.
Yep.
Ian, your blend's pretty bad.
Oh, my blend's pretty bad. I'll rebuttal you and say the legacy is fantastic.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I took a sip of the legacy and it was like dancing in my mouth. Like it had a punch, a lot of flavor. It left like a nicer finish than.
But the nose is close.
The nose is close. I will give you that.
And I will say I did the other blend earlier. If you had a bit more rye than the 15, so that's 60-40, maybe even like 55-45. I feel like the nose gets a lot closer, but then it changes the palate a bit more. So yeah. But the nose is really close on this right now. The palate doesn't even hold it a flame.
I'm even getting a little bit of pear on the Legacy on the nose.
I get a lot of the rye out of it, but it's got a spice that's missing in the 1540 blend. And I think that's just maybe if you jumped up to Weiser's 18 on the blend, would you start to get that spice that bottle has? But
maybe, but then you're getting a little bit more of the oakiness of the 18 into it too, right? So I see what you're saying with how hard it is to blend, because like you're throwing in two different flavors and trying to find that right ratio, that right oakiness, the right zippiness. It would be tough.
Yeah. And I think that's, I'm not sure, but I think that's why Dr. John has, maybe I've just dreamt this, but I think he said this a few times, where he doesn't have the stock to produce Legacy the way he wants to. So he's held off to try and not do another run because it's not going to be to his standards. And he's called it one of his favorites multiple times.
Yeah.
And you can, the lasting mouthfeel and finish on it is fantastic compared to
I was just
blend.
about to say that last sip, we've been talking for a good minute here and it's still just sitting there.
The viscosity, you can definitely tell the difference. So when I screwed up the glasses, it was pretty easy to figure out which was which. And if you haven't like seen the Weiser's bottles before, we're getting close to cashing this. They're a beautiful bottle to throw on the shelf.
Yeah.
Nice square, solid like feel to them, and I'm really impressed by them. I really like them. This bottle's pretty special as well. Yeah. Dave was a part of this. One of our friends had his wife passed away recently of cancer, and it was just a long, drawn out experience for them, and terrible, really. But we, a group of us guys, drink whiskey together. I had this bottle kicking around for a couple of years, and I was like, well, I have this bottle called Legacy. I think that would be a really cool bottle to pour. So I mentioned this in the top 3 whiskey video that we have. So go back and check that if you want. But yeah, we poured this and toasted with him, and you know, we all cheered them over Zoom because we can't get together because COVID has just changed our lives as well with so much. But it was a really special moment. So this bottle holds a dear spot in my heart for that. So maybe that's making it taste a little bit better, but I think Weiser's and Dr. Don has done a fantastic job in general making this such a good whiskey. So
yeah, I've got to agree. It was a great night to be able to remember her, and with a great whiskey. And I think it's a great whiskey to have on your shelf for that reason, right? Like Legacy was a brilliant branding, marketing name by them, because this is like a legacy to what Weiser's creates, because it does stand out above and beyond, say, the 15 or the 18. But it also just gives you that bottle on your shelf for those memories, for those special occasions, or an opportunity to buy for somebody who needs to remember somebody or who's gone through something. And I think it's a great bottling for that. And it's a great whiskey to go along with it.
So Weiser's, please do whatever you can to bring this back. It's really good.
Yeah. It's probably one of their best releases.
What is the finish I'm getting? I can't pick it out. There's like cinnamon, but it's like an earthier cinnamon, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like I got orange rind for a bit, but not really strong.
Like nutmeg, maybe.
Yeah. Like some type of cooking spice with
like
cinnamon.
A baking spice in there. Yeah. There's definitely a cinnamon like crackle on the back of your tongue. Yeah, what a delicious whiskey.
It's unique to it. Like there is a very, very good uniqueness to this. And I appreciate the complexity of it, because I think for my whiskeys that I'm starting to enjoy more, I want to be like fighting for those notes. Some of them just come easy where it's like, okay, there's caramel, there's whatever, yada, yada, yada. But this has me like searching deep into my brain to be like, what is this flavor? What is this sticking to me?
Yeah, and if you do this blend, you really notice the complexity of the true whiskey. So the true legacy has such a complexity to it, and it's actually it's really nice to compare the two because you're like, oh, this is a almost one-dimensional, like maybe two-dimensional rye and sweet whiskey with the blend, and then you get this legacy, which is like, wow, what's all this going on? And we talk about pop rocks a fair bit on this that finish, and for 90 proof or 45%. I'm getting a little bit of that tingle that the pop rocks feel on it for a low proof, which is really nice. So,
do either of you get any dill out of the actual legacy?
I didn't, but now that you mentioned it, I probably will.
Now that you mentioned it, I smell it a little bit.
I get it on the palate more. It's mixed in with that cinnamon spice.
Never get dill. I've never gotten dill on the palate. I'll get it on the nose a fair bit, but I don't get on the palate. And I had to you had to say that for me to recognize it. That's just a note that I don't really associate with. Like I lean towards like rye. When I think of dill, when I get that note, it's usually like, oh, there's some rye in there. I don't even think of dill. I think of the ryeness. But so the consensus is we love legacy. The blend does not do it justice. But if you're stuck and you want to mix your JP Weiser's 15 with your Lot 40, it's not a bad thing. I actually like it better than the straight JP Weiser's 15 because I like that rye kick in it. But the legacy itself, all day long. If you see one on the shelf, maybe it's a lot of dust on it, I think you should go pick it up.
So like we always say, share good whiskey and let the proof do the talking.
You can find us Northern Proof, YouTube, podcasts on Spotify, Apple, and Google. And if you, like Ian said, if you can find the real legacy, don't hesitate to drop the money on it.
And we really got to work on this ending. Cheers, everyone.
Ah, there we go. A little Wisers in the belly. Ready to fire this bad boy up.